6, my parents abandoned me with my aunt and uncle for an entire week so they could go to Hawaii and make a sister that I never asked for. And while I was outside playing with my cousins, I fell down and I scratched my arm. So I went running to my uncle crying, and I showed him the scratch on my arm, and he said, "Oh no." And I said, "Can I have a Band-Aid?" And he said, "No." 6-year-old me was like, "What?" And my uncle said, "Are you bleeding?" And I looked at the scratch on my arm. I was like, "No." And he said, "Band-Aids are to stop bleeding. So if you're not bleeding, then that means that you don't need a Band-Aid. So no." That was 20 years ago. And to this day, I'm just like, what the hell, Mark? Who denies a crying 6-year-old girl a Band-Aid? It wasn't about the Band-Aid. My father had the audacity to abandon me with a perfect stranger who he was raised with, and you won't even give me a Band-Aid to patch together the pieces of my life? It is a good thing that my parents were off making a bonus daughter to replace me in case I had died in my uncle's neglectful care.
Beauty standards from around the world that you probably didn't know about. Women from the Moala tribe are known for their hair, but it's the ingredients they use to style their hair that's very different to what we're all used to seeing. First, they dye their hair with red stones. Then they add ingredients such as tree bark, oil, and dried cow manure. This is so their hair can hold its shape better. Then they use food, shells, and beads as decoration. Now, even though this might seem unconventional, there's actually a lot of meaning behind it. For example, as the women get older, more colored bands and beads are added to symbolize the different stages of life. And the way they dress can also be important symbols, telling the viewer about the woman and her life story. Follow if you want to see more. Beauty. Here's another shocking story that sounds fake but is 100% real. In 2010, something unbelievable happened on a plane in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The plane took off as normal and everything seemed okay. But soon people living in the nearby town saw it plummeting to the ground out of nowhere. The plane ended up crashing, leaving only one survivor. And the strange thing is, there was nothing wrong with the plane. No reported issues with the engine or anything. But then that one survivor woke up from a coma. And that's when everyone found out the shocking truth. The survivor said they remember the flight attendant checking on the passengers before seeing something that terrified her. Soon the other passengers saw it too. There was a live crocodile crawling towards them, and allegedly because all the passengers ran away from the crocodile, the sudden shift in weight caused the plane to crash. Follow for more stories.
Am I wrong for blowing up at my dad for asking me to pay for a family dinner? I, 27 male, lost my mom at 15 in a road accident. I was a fairly airheaded kid in school and was great academically. My dad, 48 male, remarried to Isabel 10 months later for my care. The 2 years after my mom's passing were extremely hard on me. Isabel was temperamental with me, sometimes nice or almost ignoring me. She had a son who was 2 years older. We practically had no relationship as he moved for college around the time they got married. When I was 17, I was going through old pictures. I ran into some domestic pictures of Isabel and my dad. I realized many of them were from Seattle. Only time my dad was there was when he had been working on site for weeks the year before my mom died. There had been a fight between my parents about the on-sites not bringing the family extra money. I realized that my dad was probably cheating on my mom with Isabel prior to her death. I don't know if my mom knew this, though I think so. I kept it quiet because Isabel was pregnant with my stepsister at this time. I found out later that year that my mom had left me as her sole inheritor, which was quite some money. Her parents' inheritance money and 50% of the house. This had helped me pay for college. My dad challenged this will, causing some delay in executing it. Some words were said about my mom, which I didn't like. My dad also had taken $6,000 from my account. I let it go because I honestly was happy to have money for college. After moving out of state to college, I've been low contact with my dad. I had a court wedding due to COVID and have a 7-month-old now. 2 weeks ago, I was in town and my dad decided to meet me and my family, which I agreed to. It was at a nicer restaurant in town, and along came Isabel, my stepsister, and Isabel's son, his girlfriend, and 2 kids. The dinner was good until Isabel brought the house up and mentioned my stepbrother's wife losing her job. I deflected this to a private chat with my dad. No am I giving it up. This made the conversation much more difficult. When the check came, my dad asked me to take care of the bill and I refused, asking them to split it. I had no idea everyone was coming and had no contact with any of them prior to this. My dad started to bring up how I had a nest egg and my mom babied me. Suddenly, my stepbrother said, "Dude, just get it, you'll be fine." I kinda saw red at this moment and I told him to shut the and that my mom gave me the money because my dad was an adulterer. Isabel got in the middle and asked me not to talk to my dad like that, and my wife tried to calm me down. I said I don't want anything to do with this family and to keep our relationship just between me and my dad. Anyways, more words were shared and I handed them the cash from my side and left. My wife said I shouldn't have acted like that but still had my side. So, was I wrong here for my reaction? Am I wrong for giving my daughter's vegan friend meaty... Sorry. Do it again. Wait. Okay, Bisma. Am I wrong for giving my daughter's vegan friend meaty meals during sleepovers? My daughter and her friend Em are both 12 years old and like to have sleepovers every now and then. Em's family maintains a strict vegan diet where she isn't even allowed to drink milk. That's what veganism is, yeah, okay. Her parents are nice people, although a bit on the neurotic side. So whenever she's over, I always make a big meaty meal for them. Last weekend, I made some cheeseburgers and steak for them on the grill with a big glass of milk. Em absolutely loves it and always politely asks for more, which I happily provide. Em is a bright young girl and she's a good friend to my daughter, but I notice how much smaller and paler she is compared to my daughter. I think it's likely tied to her family's diet. Not for you to decide. For snacks, I give them some of my Venetian turkey. For breakfast, I typically make a big plate of scrambled eggs and bacon, again with a big glass of milk. Despite her size, Em always wolfs down whatever I make, and I have to say, every time she leaves, it looks like she has a healthy glow to her. What? I know I probably shouldn't be doing this, but I think Em is a bit malnourished. Nothing against vegans or anything. She knows she'll get in big trouble if she tells her folks. I think she fibs a bit to her parents about what she eats here. So it got me thinking, am I wrong for letting my daughter's vegan friend eat meat at my house? Fam, like, some of these things, like, you can't. I'll give you this. You had good intentions. That's it.
My mom punched some creep in the face. Story time. So I was about 5 years old at the time, and my mom was a single mother. And whenever we went out, guys would hit on her all the time, but she didn't mind as long as they didn't cross any boundaries. Well, this one time we went to a gas station and this man came up to our car to offer to pay for my mom's gas. And at first she was like, no, but he kept on insisting, so she let him do it. After filling up the car, he comes back over to my mom's window and he's like, since I paid for your gas, that means I'm gonna be able to take you out on a date, right? And she turned him down politely and was like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in dating anyone right now. And she goes to start her car. Well, this man was not taking no for an answer and he reaches into my mom's window and tries to snatch her keys out the ignition. So of course, survival mode kicks in and she grabs the keys out the ignition herself, puts them in her fist, and punches this man dead in his face through the window.
Explained that we accidentally mixed up the plates and why we thought it was overcharged, but she just wouldn't let us explain. She was like,
how I ended up crying at a restaurant. I hate this story, but it taught me a valuable lesson. So when I had just started working, yes, I was still a teenager, even so, we all went out to eat at a restaurant. And I never go to restaurants, we never went out to eat. Growing up, that's not something we did often. It was a Mexican restaurant, and all I got, I kid you not, was 2 tacos a la carte. Which, if you know, that was probably $7. And a water. So in total, there was no way my bill was more than $10. I was there with my cousins. One of my cousins was paying with a gift card. She had no idea how much money was on the gift card. That's important later. I'm gonna build up to what happened here with the waitress. We start off, we sit down, we spill something completely by accident. We offer to clean it up. She cleans it up. It's all good. I just want you to know, we were all very inexperienced in going out to eat alone as like teenagers as a group. Looking back, we were very respectful. However, we didn't make a mess. The bill comes. Boom, it's $7. $7 and like 54 cents. I round up to 8, planning to leave a tip in cash.